cool. Right now I'm trying to see if anybody at all is going to come online here with me. So it's saying right now that there is nobody here online with me, which kind of sucks. Anyway, hello family and friends, and in case any of the noise gets too excessive, about 3 minutes ago we just got hit with a very, very large thundering, lots of lightning and thunder, hard rain thunderstorm. It just started about 3 minutes ago, so we'll see how loud and crazy things, but right now it's just pretty good. I'm hearing some thunder and stuff, so I'm sure the microphone's going to pick it up. So this vlog here, I decided to do a little bit change in subject since I finally finished all the updates and stuff to my car. So you performance enthusiasts will appreciate this more, and see what happens. So anyway, the vlog itself is mostly about this here little guy. Get him up straight. Focus. Focus. Oh, not too bad. Anyways, it's by a company called Diablo, and this is called the Predator 2. Alright. So, what the Predator 2 is, what is it, what's it for? Pretty much, like I said, it's for car enthusiasts, and if you're trying to do some stuff and get a little bit more bang for your buck, a little bit more horsepower, or some better gas mileage. It does both. Anyway, what this guy does, it's a handheld computer. It's in the middle. It's a handheld computer, and at the other end, it's got a connector. Yeah. Okay. The computer plugs into the diagnostic port of your automobile. Most all cars got them anymore. So I'm going to be going over and do a review of this and how it helped me and what it did to my car, and also include a little bit of family history and some jumping off subject from time to time. So anybody has any questions or anything, please text. You're still nobody online, but I'll roll with it anyway. So, DiabloSport Predator 2. Like I said again, it plugs into your computer, and it's a handheld computer in itself. So this computer talks to the computer inside your car. So, anyway, what happened? Oh, said I was offline for a second there. So, going to go into some things what led me up to going this far with this fancy little piece of equipment. So, I've always been a performance bug ever since, shoot, I was 18. So was my brother, so was all my uncles. Did some racing at ATCO, did some racing at Gainesville, NHRA. This is all quarter mile. So, always been wrapped up in them, living a little bit on the wild side, them fast cars. So, going on to what I've done so far, right after I retired, I was driving a pickup truck, and I don't know, it was getting boring. So wanted to go back into my wild side. I'm retiring, time to go do something different, and go. And I don't know, the speed bug suddenly for some reason bit me again. So I went around looking for cars, and looking for something that was nice, new, but I wanted something on the performance side. So did a bunch of looking around. Anyway, I hit everybody. Chevrolet, Ford, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, but when I got to the Chrysler dealership, that's when it opened my eyes. They had the Chrysler 300s. Man, they are some pretty cars. So I'm sitting there looking at them, and they had a brand new one. They had the brand new ones, and they had a few used ones out on the lot. They had 8 used ones out on the lot. So we're sitting there looking at them, and the guy starts to explain to me, and that's not part of this vlog, so I won't go into the details. If you want to go into details later on, explaining the 300 model Chryslers and all the different models and what they do and what they are and who's what, then you go ahead. Then give me a message somehow, and I'll do another vlog. So anyway, going back around, and started doing some talking, and I saw this one that had a sunroof on it. So I went over, took a look at that one, and then it had the magic word. It was a Chrysler 300C, which is top of the line, but it was used, and it had a Hemi in it. I asked him, I said, well, about which ones you got? Well, the new ones that they had in stock were the 6-cylinder versions, different models of 6 cylinders. I didn't want a 6-cylinder. Not a car that big. Chrysler 300 is a big car. So this was the only Hemi they had, and it was a 2006. But man, it is sharp looking. It's pro white. I've got some pictures up on my Facebook webpage if you want to take a look at it. So, based on it being fully loaded, having man, this thing, like I said, it's everything. But, and it also had the Hemi. So I said, alright, that's it. Speed bug done hit me, so I bought the Hemi. Anyway, for the past 2 years, I've been doing little things to it every now and then, doing some upgrades, because I'm never satisfied with the cars when they're stock. There's always something. So, first thing happened, and I started having some tire wear. Come to find out that the suspension system in the Chrysler was old, too many miles, and it needed to be replaced. So first thing I ended up having to do was I replaced the suspension system with IBOC. It's an IBOC High Performance Touring Suspension System. Everything. So the suspension system got done, and then also after I had the car for a couple weeks, I'm an audiophile. It has the Bose premium sound system in it, but it wasn't quite good enough for me. Oh, it was also sound system / navigation. So I upgraded the sound system with the Kenwood. Sound system had 6 speakers. So I upgraded the Kenwood nav head, upgraded all 6 speakers, and now she sounds like she's supposed to. So then they've also got something for the front end where they got all these kits. I'm sure you performance guys know about these kits that you can buy for cars that gives them all kind. You can turn the side doors and the wings and replace the whole front end and the rear end, make the car look totally different. Okay, mine has something on it. I have to change over the front end, the whole front end of the car, headlight, the whole back end of the car, and the tail lights, and added the sonar and added the backup camera. And it's something that's called a Bentley kit. And the Bentley kit makes the Chrysler 300 look like a Rolls-Royce Bentley. So man, she really looks sharp now. So next thing comes the engine. So I've been doing a lot of work, and like I said, I've been doing research for about a year on this thing. So I got it all done. I got the intake manifold, I've got the cold air intake, headers, high performance exhaust system. I got everything done to it. But I also started reading about these reprogrammers. And like I said, it took me about a year, doing a lot of research, reading on what they wanted to do. So finally, a little while ago, I finally said the heck with it, broke down and say, okay, let's just see what this thing's supposed to do. Let's see what it does in real life. And I'm going to go over step by step, because it did a heck of a lot more than what the other YouTubers are talking about. There are some YouTube videos on it, but they're pretty scant. And they don't really go into any detail. They just say, hey, this is the Predator 2. It makes your car go a little bit quicker, maybe a couple more horsepower. Okay, thank you for watching my YouTube video. Bam. Well, I'm going to do a little bit more than that. So anyway, again, you take the Predator 2, use the connector. Okay, every car's got this diagnostic port. On my particular car, oh yeah, you have to order for your car, because each manufacturer car is a little bit different on their connector. So make sure that you specify what car you've got. So anyway, on my particular car, the diagnostic port is you take the steering wheel and you go straight down to it goes underneath the dash, and it's sitting right there. So anyway, so I said, all right, let's see how complicated this is, if I can do it. And in my older days, believe it or not, I have rebuilt some engines and some transmissions, and I've changed out some stuff. And I got some electronics background, so I said, well, this couldn't be too tough. But I still called my mechanic. I've got my own mechanic, and I asked him about it, and they've used them before. So I figured, well, if I can't do it, I'll just pack everything up and take the thing to him, let him do it. So anyway, but the firmware and the programming is very, very well written. It's just simple, step by step. It's got its own 3-inch screen, so it tells you everything you need to do. So anyway, so what you do is really simple. You plug it into the port. You plug it into the port, it takes power from your car battery through that port. So it comes up on, turns on, screen comes up. The first thing that the Predator 2 does is the Predator sends a signal to the computer in your car. Now, the computer in your car and the Predator starts talking back and forth. So the Predator sends a signal to the computer in your car and says, okay, what am I plugged into? What year car, what kind of car, which model, and what options is on this car. And then the computer comes back and says, okay, you got it. This is the year, this is the make, this is the model. Along with this particular model car, the gentleman has ordered this option, this option, this option, and that option. And the Predator says, okay, fine. Then the next thing the Predator turns around and says, stand by, and it makes a copy. Okay, so your cars nowadays actually have computers, they have RAM, and they have a computer program that runs everything in the car. And mine more so, these newer fancier ones and the newer ones are getting more and more, everything goes through the computer. Everything. So it comes back and it tells me, you know, it's making a backup copy of the program that's already in the computer. So it does a copy. And after it copies everything, it takes it and it stores it on the Diablo, on the Predator. So now, what's already on your car, inside your car, that program has been copied and stored inside the Predator. Now then, it does that for a reason. And here's something else these people don't tell you on these YouTube videos, and it's all over the instructions. So, why does it make a backup copy of the computer program in your car? It's like this, and this is a warning. If you ever use any of these car programmers, if for some reason, no matter what it is, if for any reason you have to take your car back to the dealer to get some work done on it. Now again, different areas and different dealers and different mechanics do things differently. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over worst case scenario. So anyway, the mechanic takes your car. Now let's say you got the Predator, you went through all the stuff that I'm going to be going over here in a little bit. And after it's been reprogrammed, suddenly there's something strange about the car or whatever's happening, and you need to take it into the dealer. Here's where the problem runs in, okay? Your car, the computer in your car has been reprogrammed with Predator, all right? If the dealer takes his computer and he plugs it into your car, it's going to kick out all kinds of errors. Because the program in the Predator has done some modifications to the running in your engine, and now it's not doing the factory specs. And that computer that the dealer has checks for factory specs. So it's going to kick out some errors. So now you got a mechanic scratching his head. So the mechanic, again, depending on how much of a slime bag he is, you got some good ones, and believe me, you got a lot of bad ones. Anyway, we're going to go over some of the best case scenarios. They leave it alone and fix what you want done with the car. No, they don't. So if he connects up his computer to your car with the Predator 2 reprogrammed, it's going to kick out errors. So now that mechanic's turning around and saying, what the heck? So remember, the longer he has that car, the more money it's costing you. So now he's got to take some time, and since because he has no idea why his computer's kicking out these errors, now he's got to do some troubleshooting. So that means he's got to put some more time into the car. Meanwhile, you don't have the car and you're not getting it back. And he's not even working on the original problem in the car in the first place. He's working on what his computer's telling him with all these errors. Now then, according to DiabloSport, if the dealer plugs his computer programmer reader into your car, it can possibly go from okay to catastrophic. So when it originally plugs in, what can it do? It can just read it and call out these errors, and now your mechanic's looking to find out what the heck's wrong with the car. Or in some instances, when the reader reads the program, it'll corrupt it. So now you don't have a car anymore, you've got a boat anchor. It won't even start, it won't do nothing. Because that computer, the error reader from the dealer just corrupted the files, so it don't work right. So now he's going to be looking around. So to get the car back up and running and no longer a brick, that mechanic's faced with two choices. Choice number one, if he knows how and he's got the right device, to reprogram your car again to factory specs. That costs money, believe me. If you want to find out for the fun of it, call your dealer on your particular car. You'll be surprised. It's expensive. Or, number two, he can really put the screws to you and replace your computer. So, what DiabloSport tells you, that if for any reason you have to take your car back into the dealer, you reconnect up your Predator 2, and your Predator 2 will take off whatever custom program you had put into it before. It'll erase it and it'll put the regular stock vendor program on it. So now it's like it come out of the factory, and then you take it to the dealer. He'll do his thing, whatever was wrong with the car, oil change, something was wrong, whatever. And then when you get it back, you can change it back around. So that's the reason it copies and keeps a copy of your original stock program in its memory. So that's the first thing it does. So now it gets that done. Then it comes up and it asks you what you want to do. It comes up with the option. I think it's like 4 different options, but the only 2 of them that we would particularly be interested in, unless you really want to be a good mechanic and really dive into your car deeply, which this thing can. Anyway, most importantly, number 1, the Diablo can read the error codes in your car, and it can also reset them. So, if you get an error code and you want to find out more accurate yourself what it is, and the error code reader is pretty good in the Predator 2. It'll do that for you. And if you want to clear it, it'll clear the error codes. Okay. Next, which is what I'm as interested in, why we bought this thing in the first place. And that is to reprogram the computer in your car. So, it comes up and it says, you want to do that, so you use this little button thing here that it's got. Just like a joystick. And move it down to reprogram, and you press OK. When it goes into that, now then, it has two different types of major programs. You can either reprogram your car for economy or for performance. So I guess Predator has got some better programs, more advanced, that you can put into it to get a little bit better gas mileage. So you can either do economy or you do performance. Okay, I'm driving a Hemi, I'm not going to do economy. So you go into performance. Okay, now it shows up with 4 different programs for your car. Okay, program number 1, stock. The stock factory computer program that was in the car in the first place. Okay, program number 2, custom. Now what the custom is what you can do is you can email DiabloSport and tell them, you know, what model you have, what model programmer you've got, and you can also tell them, okay, this is the year of my car, this is the make of the car, this is the options of the car. You tell them everything you've got in the car, and then you tell them what you're expecting out of the car. You want a little bit better gas mileage. You want to do a little bit of performance, but not too much. And you don't want to have to use the higher octane gases. And it's got all this stuff on file. So we'll look that up, and they'll email you a program. So then, either they email you the program or they ask you to connect up the Diablo to your laptop. Oh, and that's a step that I forgot. Step number 1, and most important before you do anything, is you take out the Diablo, you plug it into your computer, and there's a program inside the Predator 2, and what it does is it sends signals to your computer and says, I need to do an update, and here's where we're going, and it takes over your computer, sends you to the website, sends the signals back and forth, asks for an update, and in my case there was, and it's what DiabloSport says, most of the time they will have an update, because the world's changing quickly, so it'll do an update. So that's the very first thing you do before you do anything. You update your Predator. So anyway, going back to the custom program, you connect up your your Predator 2 to your computer, and it will download the custom program to your Diablo. So now you have 4, and I'm going to go over the other 2 programs here shortly. So now you have stock, you've got custom. Okay, now then, again, each model, each year, and so forth is different. So if you decide to do this and go and get yourself a Predator 2, again, another part of my vlog on this one here was it worth it? Because these things aren't that cheap. Was it worth buying the Predator 2 and going through this? Which I'll let you know at the end of the vlog. So, anyway, on my particular make and model of the car, they had 2 more programs. One of them they called 87 High Performance. Okay. Now, what the 87 High Performance program for the car is, it changes the timing a little bit, changes the fuel injection timing, the amount of fuel. It goes into the basic running parameters of the car. And I think it even has a couple options. So if you did something simple, like added a cold air intake, or maybe updated your cooling system or whatever, you could put that in there, and it's just there to ask those couple questions. Now the downside to the 87, either 85 or 87 performance program is, when it gets done, you have to run the 85 octane fuel. You can't run the regular anymore, because it'll do some pinging and stuff. So that's the downside. So program number 4. Yeah, program number 4. This they call the 91 octane Super Tune. Okay, this is for the guys that done everything. Okay, this is for the guy who's, like on my car, you've got the cold air intake, you've got the high performance throttle body, you've had the intake manifold either changed out or machined, you've got headers, and you've got exhaust system. And I have all the above done to mine. So That's a totally different one, but again, it's got a drawback. You have to run the high octane fuel, 91, 93, something like that. So if you put that one in, you have to run the high octane. So now you've got that done, and then it'll come back and you pick out which one to go to the next step. The next step reads your options. So on my particular car, there was some other options. So they come up with option number 1. Option number 1 on my car is, believe it or not, my car has a rev limiter put into the program. The rev limiter, believe me, man, these rev limiters, I don't know if you've got a car with a rev limiter in it, but golly days, it scares the shit out of you. What the rev limiter does is, as soon as the engine goes past a certain RPM, well, it will not let your engine go past a certain RPM. And what happens is, if you give it too much gas too quick, like put it in neutral and rev it, it'll go up to that max RPM, and then you'll hear that engine make all kinds of weird sounds. Because the computer's kicking in and it's shutting it down. The computer will not let it exceed that RPM. So the other thing about it is, for that rev limiter, you can't do a burnout. The computer will not let those rear tires spin. Worst case scenario, when it happened, the first time it happened to me, it scared me to death. You're sitting there minding your own business. You're at a stoplight. It just started raining. The light turns green. You give it a little bit of gas, and you give it a little bit too much, and it's all rainy and slick, so your rear tires break loose. Well, as soon as my rear tire broke loose, the RPM jumped up, the rev limiter kicked in, and oh my God, I thought the car was going to blow up. Jeez. It started making all kinds of sounds and jerking and stuff. And then as soon as they come back on the regular, then it took off again. So, anyway, the Predator come up and says, you have a rev limiter. And then it had 2 choices: remain enabled or disabled. It's a hammy. No. Disable that son of a bitch. So I turned it off. So you did that, went to the next step. The next step says you have a max speed governor installed. It so happens that my car, by the computer program, has a max speed of 95 miles an hour. A governor program. My car, stock from the factory, you cannot, no matter what you try to do, it will not exceed 95 miles an hour. Because the engine, as soon as it hits 95 miles an hour, the computer shuts the engine down, and it will keep it between 90 and 95, and man, again, scares the shit out of you. Once that computer program kicks in, starts shutting that engine down. And until you go down below 95 miles an hour, it's going to give you all kinds of hell. You're not exceeding 95 miles an hour. So then again, there are 2 choices: keep enabled or disabled. I drive a Hemi, turn that son of a bitch off. So I turned it off. Then it come up to the next parameter. It happens that the computer on my car also controls the transmission. It watches the temperatures and stuff, monitors the transmission. Not only that, but the computer tells the transmission what RPM to shift at. So if you're just sitting there and cars in drive, and you give it a little bit of gas, you take off. My particular car has a 6-speed transmission in it. So the computer tells the transmission what RPM to shift into the next gear. Okay. So mine had 3 choices. Choice number 1, just stop, 5,000 RPM. So stock from the factory, when you put it in drive, my car would go into the next gear when the tach hit 5,000 RPM. Choice option number 2, 5,000, 5, 5, 6. Okay. Option number 2, do you want to change to 5,500 RPM? So I could change the shift RPM of the car at 55. Then the third and final choice was 6,000 RPM. Do I need to say, I hit that sucker for 6,000 RPM? As soon as I hit that, I went on to the next step. Next step was the computer had to collate the program. So it's getting the program all set and ready to go. And then it comes up and says, you pick this. And it's got a list of all the stuff that I picked. and if I want to, I can go back and I can edit it, or one of the choices, one of the options is upload. Okay, I know what I did. I rechecked it to make sure I didn't do anything foolish or stupid or hit the wrong button, and I didn't. Everything was exactly what I wanted it to do, and so I hit upload. So then it comes up on the screen, uploading your 91 Super Tune firmware program with your option choices to your car. So it's like, da, na, 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 na. Now you gotta wait. Okay. And then it finally comes up and says, completed. You may now remove Predator 2. So you unplug it. Okay, done. So sit it on down. So I'm like, okay, now then, for the question, did I just blow up my car or not? So you put the key in ignition, you cross your fingers, and you hit the key, and it starts. Whew. Okay, I didn't blow it up. Now let it run for a few minutes to see if it's going to kick out any error codes. No error codes. Oh, cool. All right. So I drove it around for a few days at first, and yes, the answer is yes. Man, I could feel some differences. That sucker now, it'll break the tires loose, and it will flat move. There was a huge difference in the way that thing performed. It was moving. So I had the car I drove it probably for a couple months, and watching some other YouTube videos, and I finally got to me and says, well, I did myself exchange all these parts out, replace them, and upgraded the engine. I did the Predator update, Super Tune. But it feels faster to me, but is it really faster? Okay, there's only one answer to that, only one way to fix that. For you performance enthusiasts who don't know who know about it, what it is, I took my car to a performance auto shop and put it on a dyno. Okay, if you're not familiar with that term, a dyno is a very large piece of machinery, and you roll your car up into the machine, and you can now run the car like it's on the street. Got little rollers and stuff so the wheels can spin. Anyway, it does that, and they connect up a bunch of sensors to the engine to see what the engine was doing. At the same time, this machine will put your engine through its paces. It'll push the hell out of it. So it keeps track of the performance of the engine, and it brings it all the way up till finally, one of the final tests, and it brings it up to max speed. And it tries to push, see what your car does at best kick out, best speed, how much horsepower is your engine really putting out. And another one of the key things is what's RPM, what's miles per hour is your car doing at the same time. And then of course it's got all these other things. It does oil pressure, water temperature. It monitors everything throughout the entire test to make sure your oil pressure isn't dropping, your engine isn't getting too hot, or whatever. So, I digress real quickly. Before I did any of the performance add-ons onto my car, I upgraded the cooling system, because that's the way the world goes when it comes to performance cars. More horsepower, your push is stronger, it's going to run a little bit warmer. So I replaced I did all the checks and stuff for Chrysler, read all the articles, and I did a bunch of improvements to the cooling system on my car. And now the car itself runs 30 degrees cooler than it was before, so it's running cooler. And it's locked on that. It doesn't move. It runs nice and cool. Okay, so now we'll go back. So it does all these runs, and then it prints it out on a printout. And then the mechanic takes a look at it, makes sure there's nothing that went out screwy, and there's nothing bad running on the engine when it did through the test. And if everything's still fine, he says, okay, there you go. And then he'll take it out of the machine, and then you can go on. Okay, now then, my printout. So we went through all the things. The mechanic, I walked up to the mechanic, and he's looking at all the specs and stuff, and he had it printed out. And he kind of looks at me and smiles and smirks, says, I didn't do a close look, I just looked at the machine, but what did you do? I said, well, So then we get back up, going back over, and we're going over the headers and the exhaust system and the cold air intake. Oh, okay, I see it now. I was like, well. He says, okay, we'll go back again. Now then, my car stock from the factory. Chrysler says my particular engine puts out a maximum of 365 horsepower. Stock from the factory, 365. Max RPM and speed on the engine, because of the governor, is 95 miles an hour. So, 365 horsepower, 95 miles an hour, which is the two stuff I was particularly interested in. Everything else was, all the other test points and stuff were nominal. It was running perfect, running beautiful, even when they put it through hell. So, that's factory. He gave me that piece of paper, and I took a look at it, and it blew my mind. Okay, I'm going to repeat it again one more time. Stock from the factory, the 2006 300C 6.1 liter Hemi does 365 horsepower. My car, tested on the dyno, does 510. So I can put that 510 horsepower. On the dyno, it ran at 172 miles per hour. 172! I had created a monster. So, my final thing for the DiabloSport Predator2, yeah, it was worth it. The thing to remember is, what DiabloSport says is it will increase horsepower 30%, a different percentage depending on what you've done to your car. So if you just did a cold air intake, depending on what you did and what parts you put on it and how you did and everything in your exhaust and all the intake and all that kind of stuff, you'll get different numbers. So remember that. It's just on the parts that upgrades I did to my car increased my performance to 510 horsepower, and according to their dyno, it can do 172 miles an hour. So that's moving. That's flat flying. So I am very happy with my DiabloSport Predator2. If you guys have any questions, get me on Facebook. Or if you want to talk to me, I'll give you my phone number. Or if you want to email me, you can email me. And just let me know on Facebook, and I'll send you my email address. So, that's the end of this one. And once again, as a reminder, I start my multi-city paranormal investigation the 27th of this month, a couple days from now. So far, plans are the Devil's Chair, Casadega, Florida, the Haunted Mansion in Casadega, Florida. From there, we go to St. Augustine, and I'll go in there and do some stuff. St. Augustine is supposed to be the most haunted city in Florida. From there, we go to Panama City, Florida. And from there, again, depending on how tired I am and how things are running and how much time we got, maybe Mobile, Alabama, and then I'll hit as many places as I can, and then I'm going to turn around and come back home. So, this time here, I'll be letting you just, I guess, keep track and watch from the 27th for the next 10 days, because on some of the investigations, I'm going to go Facebook Live. So we'll be doing the live, and I'll be on Facebook Live, and you'll be seeing parts of the things and what I do when I go through an actual paranormal investigation. So if you're curious and you want to find out, look at something that's called the Devil's Chair, which is in Casadega. Look up Casadega, Florida, which is supposedly haunted, and the hotel in Casadega. And then, of course, you go ahead for St. Augustine and Panama City and Mobile, Alabama. Ooh. If you're ever curious about these places I am and what the reputations are, go ahead and go on YouTube. What you do is you type in for the search, you go haunted, and then type the name of the city. Haunted Casadega. Haunted St. Augustine, haunted Panama City, and it'll throw you up a list of all the stuff that goes on in that particular city and what paranormal investigators, what they've done and what they found. So on and off, I'll see you on Facebook Live then. But so for now, love you all, family and friends. Later. Have a good night.